Hey guys, so today I wanted to kind of talk about what I had planned and have planned for my YouTube channel. Uh, when I created this channel late last year, the intention was to just do crochet videos. I have some people in my life who are not as crafting inclined, so I wanted to kind of create tutorials to help them and people like them to, if they want to learn how to crochet but struggle with like just understanding how it's done, really taking it slow. And that is in fact what I did. uh, my first tutorial was really going over how to do single crochet, and then I've published other ones. But I actually I lost my job mid-May. The store where I worked closed. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this time to like really focus on trying to do this YouTube thing, because before I was working so much, but also I was just like, I was working a lot. I was an assistant manager. I worked 35 hours a week, but then like our hours got cut, which was like first clue that something was happening. But even still, because I was still an assistant manager, I was there almost every day. So I would have only 2 days off a week, and they weren't even 2 days in a row. It would be, like a Sunday and like a Thursday. And it was just like, I have so much I have to do. Like there's the regular like household stuff, needing to do laundry, but also like I'm on my feet all day. So I want to just kind of like relax on the couch and play video games. But also, I want to craft. So I want to crochet and I want to sew, and I want to do all this stuff, and I just don't have enough time. So like nothing ever really got done. I did crochet a lot. Crocheting is like one of my, what I call my couch crafts, because it's really easy to do anywhere. But unfortunately, like a week before my last week, my wrist started hurting. I crochet right-handed, as I'm sure you've seen in my tutorials, but it started hurting here and like up my thumb. And like I was working on a big cardigan that I wanted to get done literally by the end of my last week of work, because I had a trip planned already and I was still going on that trip, and I wanted the cardigan to wear on that trip. It ended up being too warm to wear it, but I did get it done in time. But I wonder if I potentially injured myself. So I was like trying to take it easy, and like I'm filming stuff that doesn't aggravate my wrist, and I spent like 2 weeks doing absolutely nothing. I wasn't doing any kind of crafting on the couch. I wasn't coming up here into my crafting room to do anything. I was just trying to like rest my wrist. Played a lot of video games, which thankfully doesn't make it hurt. It still hurts. I'm just kind of trying to work through it, trying to figure out the best way. I know that I'm on the left side of the couch, so my right arm has the armrest, but my left arm has the armrest, but my right arm doesn't. So it just kind of hovers, and that is potentially why it started hurting, because I've been crocheting so much for the last few years. I want to do things other than just crochet vlogs. Sorry. Crochet tutorials. I want to do vlogs. But I have a very small crafting room, so it kind of like limits my places where I can put my phone, because I'm filming on my phone. I don't even have like a mic or anything like that. So if you notice like audio is bad in some clips but not others, it's because of I'm far away from my phone, and I don't really have the means to be buying new equipment right now because I am unemployed. But I'm on unemployment, and if anybody has been on unemployment in the United States, there are requirements. And I have a job interview on Friday that I don't actually want to go to, because I want to focus on YouTube, not get another job in customer service. That being said, I still want to try and focus on the YouTube channel. I want to do tutorials and vlogs, crocheting, sewing, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. This is not just a talking at you vlog. I do have something else that I would like to do today, and that is a roll for scraps, roll for yarn kind of project. Because I've been taking a break from crocheting, I did crochet an amigurumi snake. I'm never doing that again. I do not like amigurumi, but the snake pattern was really cute. Anyway, this is my Bag O yarn. It is not a dedicated Bag O yarn, but it's one that I pulled for this project. So I just kind of want to walk you through some of the yarn that I have picked for this roll for scraps project. Some of them are like half skeins, some of them are balls. There's a mix of color palettes in here. A lot of it is on the brighter side, but I do have a couple of skeins that are on the darker side. I actually have more than 20 in here, but some of them are like really teeny tiny balls, and that like I might just like, if I roll a color that one of the balls is similar to, I'll just use the small ball instead for like the center. Because what I want to do, I didn't tell you what I'm doing. I want to do granny squares, maybe 3 or 4 rows, big granny squares, and you know, do the roll for yarn method of picking which color for each row for each square. I have a list on my computer where they're all numbered, and there's, you know, like I said, there's a couple that I left out either because they're really small, or there's one that's like multiple different colors. I'll explain when I get to it. So some of the ones that are like half skeins is this one I used to make a sweater. It is Big Twist Rainbow Bright. So I got like a half skein, maybe 3/4 skein of that. And then I have Big Twist Happy Rainbow, which was also part of the same project. So I got those two. I then have 2 balls of hot pink. These actually are from the Lions brand Gradient line in hot pink. The center was, no, I think the center was the hot pink and the outside was pale pink. I don't remember which order it was, but what I was using it for, I needed to actually hit the gradient for what I was doing. So I took off some of the extra layers of just straight hot pink from the inside or the outside or wherever it was. So I have 2 balls of that. I then have a couple balls of, I believe it is Caron Simply Soft, and a couple different colors. There's one more. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Where's the other one? There it is. Okay, so I have this blues and like purples. It's, if anybody has seen the Caron Simply Soft, they know how tiny the skeins are. I think this might be an entire skein because I never used them for anything, most of them. And then I have this rainbow one I did use for some stuff, and then this blues and greens one. These are all the same kind. And then I have it was bought at the same time, but I don't think it's Caron. I think it might be like Red Heart Soft or whatever, because I remember it wasn't the like skinny long mini skein that those were. This one was slightly larger and more of like a normal looking skein. But I have this purples variegated and also pretty soft. I have, this was a larger skein of just straight green. So this was left over from a project as well. Obviously this is a scrap yarn project, so a lot of it is left over. This yarn, I don't remember what it is. It's probably acrylic. It kind of feels like cotton though, but I don't actually know what cotton yarn feels like. But it's one of those yarns that back in the like mid 2010s when I was still kind of learning, I bought one skein of it and then never bought more, so I have no idea what it was, and I like used most of it right away. I actually frogged the project that one of the projects that I used this for, which was like an arm warmer thing. I made so many arm warmers because like it was the only thing I figured out how to do it on my own in single crochet. I don't actually know if I made it correctly, but I frogged it because like I had like 12 different arm warmers that I had made over the years. So I have this one. So you can kind of see a theme of colors, lots of blues. I used to gravitate towards like blues when I was younger, but now I gravitate towards like greens, but also like rainbow. I love rainbow. And then I have just a straight orange. This is also Big Twist. And then I have a little one. It's a Big Twist. I can't remember what it's called. I want to say like Sunset or something. So it's got yellows, it's got white and light pink and orange and hot pink. So I just got a little bit of that one. This is one of those little teeny tiny balls. I'm pretty sure this is from a Caron ombre, where it was like greens and blues, and this was either I think it must be the end of a skein, because I used that yarn for a project that I actually listed on my Etsy. It's the hexagon cardigan on my Etsy. I will list my Etsy below. And then I have this kind of palish yellow green. I think it is the same as this. It just doesn't feel like it is. This is a Lines brand gradient in a green color. So like how this is the pink, this was the hot pink outside, this is the light green inside of the green. So I have that. And then teeny tiny little ball of this purple. And then I have another yarn like this one where I had bought one skein and then never bought more, so I have no idea what it's called. It's obviously been discontinued because it was over 10 years ago. It's this yarn. So it's got this purple, this red, this blue, there's this yellow in there, and then there's also, you can see it here, this like orange, almost white section. So I have two little balls of it and then a bigger ball of it. And it's just, I also had frogged it, hence why there's like little balls. But it's just such an interesting yarn, and I've never found anything like it before. But that is another yarn that I have. And then I have, if you've seen my tapestry videos, I have this floppy skein. It is a Caron, and it is just blues. It's a blue and then like 3 different shades of green. And I have I balled up some of this, and that's in my weaving box, and then this is like the rest of it. And then like I also have an entire unused skein, but I have some of this, so that's more greens. And then going into like the darker colors, I have these Line brand Heartland line in this brown, which is called Sequoia, in a dark green called King's Canyon, in a kind of olivey green called Joshua Tree. Now these yarns, they all still exist, but their dye lots might be slightly, or I know the dye lots will be slightly different because one of the colors I had bought many years later. And then I also have Bryce Canyon, this kind of golden color. And then the last one, which I don't remember the name of it because this is all that's left. I had less skeins of this color for the Lines brand Heartland, and when I went and bought more, knowing that they still existed, the dye lot was wildly different. But I have this kind of grayish, goldish, tannish taupe. Like it's a taupe. It's basically a taupe. I don't know what the name of this one is. And then just a ball of plain purple. And then, so that is my 20, not including, I don't know where it went, that little ball of green, the little ball of this, because this is basically the same thing. Obviously that's all considered one number, that's considered one number. And I think I have, oh, you can't see that. This one, I think I have that one listed separately. My last ball of yarn, this is also Lion's brand Heartland yarn, but it was used, I had bought a bunch of this Heartland yarn in a bunch of different colors years ago, and I used about 5 of them. I had bought probably 9, 10 different colors, and I used 5 of them to make a blanket from my bed. I have a queen size bed, single crochet, but doubled up with a 10.5 millimeter hook. So it's really big, it's really heavy, and it's perfect for winter. And the colors I used had been like an orange, a black, a teal, a purple, and like a different shade of yellow. I don't have any of the orange left. I must have used it for something else. But the other 4, the teal, the black, the purple, and the yellow, I still have. And they had been all used to make like a short little like glove hand warmer thing. Because remember, this was, you know, in the mid 2010s, I was obsessed with making hand warmers for some reason. So this ball of yarn is those 4 colors connected to each other, and they're connected because I've been trying to use a lot of this yarn, especially all of these balls here. So let's see if you can get all of this in the frame. All of these balls of yarn, I've been trying to use up in other scrap using projects, and I keep like frogging it. Like the first time it was going to be a giant granny square blanket, like just a giant granny square, since I was making granny squares, and I like making granny squares, but I don't like making granny squares where there are a bunch of individual ones and then I have to sew them together, because I did that. That was my first big project. That's what I used all the other remaining Heartlands that I had never touched for anything. And it's really pretty, though I wish I hadn't included this color. I regret that. But it's big, it's too big, it's heavy, and I missed an entire stack when putting it together, which was fine because I ended up having leftovers anyway, because the addition of this row made it each square bigger than when I initially planned it out. So this yarn, however, so there's the teal, you can see the black right there. Let's see, can you see the, yeah, you can see the yellow, and unfortunately it's really in there, it's a purple. Not as dark as this purple, not as light as this purple, kind of in the middle, and it has that same, like, it's not variegated, but it's got like differences in the color, just like how you can see there's like differences in the color, but it's a solid color, not multi-colored variegated like a lot of these are. So this I think I'll use as like a backup, or use just the individual colors and cut them apart for like centers and stuff. So like if I feel like my first color and my second color might be too close together or whatever. So I thought I would do my first square for this project right now, and then see where we go from there, because like I said, I like making crochet being my couch craft because I can be more relaxed. Though granted, doing crochet on the table here will probably be better for my wrist. We'll see how it goes. Right, so we have my list here. So hot pink, pale green, purple variegated, purple, the blue-green, the blue variegated, which one's that supposed to be? This one. This is blue-green, this is blue variegated, this is blue-purple, which was number 7. And then gray, which is that heartland that I don't know the name of, pastel rainbow, and then purple rainbow, starburst, which is this one, because I've had somebody say that it looks like Starburst the candy, and I agree. Orange, bright rainbow is that Caron Simply Soft. Green is this ball of green here, and then we've got gold, brown, dark green, moss green. Those are the other Heartland colors. Blue, green, variegated, which is this one right here. And then I called it wine variegated. That's this ball that I don't know what it's called. And then at the bottom you can see I have it, number 21 will be the teal, black, yellow, purple, which is this ball of Heartland that I have only a little bit left, and you have the different colors all balled up together. So let's roll the dice and see what we get. I have this bag of mixed dice here. I have actual sets of dice, but those are downstairs. So I've got this pretty blue and purple swirl D20. So let's roll and see what number I get. That's an 8. 8 is gray. And then let's roll number 2. 13. 13 is bright rainbow. That's this one. And let's do let's see, this is from a tutorial that I just filmed and will be out soon. This is 3 rows. Let's do 4. So row 3, it's an 8 again, no repeats. We're not doing any repeats. 15, that's gold. That's this color. And then a 20, which is the variegated. So that is our first square. A bit odd, I will admit. These darker colors kind of make it a little weird, but I literally only have these 1 skeins of the Heartland left, so I gotta use it up. I was saying that if I think that a yarn should be smaller. No, what was I saying about the center? Like, so like if I rolled this green as like the center roll, I would just use this one because it's essentially the same color. It's just a slightly different shade of green. Same goes for like the orange and the starburst color. And obviously, like, if it's the same color, you know, I'll just use the little balls. But this is the color order. So I think, oh, you can't see that. That's my color order for my first square. I think that will be enough for round 2. So let's do it. And I just want to say before I get started, I am using a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. get in this mindset sometimes when it comes to the yarns that I buy that I don't want to cut them, because what if I change my mind? And I do. I tend to change my mind a lot. Like I said, I was trying to do, I never finished my thought. I tried to do a giant granny square blanket with a lot of this scrap yarn, and then I frogged it. And then I tried to do like a sweater. I was gonna do an in the round sweater, but like some of the yarns that I was using was like really old yarn that was Red Heart, and I don't like Red Heart. And so it was just, it wasn't looking the way I wanted, and it just wasn't coming out. And it just, I got maybe like, I know like a lot of these, this one, not the little balls, but the big ball was in the blanket at one point. This was in there. This was in there. The orange was in there. Like there was a lot of yarn that was in that sweater that I was trying to do. But I just didn't like it. And I was having like a bit of a, like writer's block, I guess, like a crocheter's block of just like not knowing what I wanted to do when it came to the crochet that I like, the stuff that I wanted to make. So when I saw somebody else do a like roll for scraps kind of thing, I was like, oh, I'll do that. But like when I did the blanket and when I did the sweater, I didn't cut any of it. Yes, the yarns were all tied together, so like to get them back into their respective balls and their respective colors, I did have to cut where they were knotted. But that's just such, you know, tiny little amount that didn't bother me. It's stuff like this, like that's yarn that I'll never get attached to the ball again. So I get kind of not paranoid, but like, oh, I don't want to cut this yarn, especially when I have a lot of it. I don't want to cut this yarn because like, what if I don't like what I make with it? I want to be able to frog it and still have a large amount of it, not like a bunch of tiny little balls. So that's definitely something that I have to like work on, I guess. Not work on, it's not like a huge issue. But yeah, it's easier when it's already been used. But like even still, it's like some of these balls, especially the ones that are, you know, discontinued. This one, it's hard to like get yourself to cut it up and use it, because I'm never gonna get it back. Okay, that is our center in the silver. Now we are going to do row 2 in rainbow. how do we feel about that? It is a bit eclectic. The Heartland gold looks pretty good with the purple, red, variegated, the wine variegated as I call it. The rainbow and the silver Heartland, sure. Maybe if this was a different color, if the rainbow was a different, more darker, more not as bright. What's the word I want? I don't know what word I want. But I knew that adding this and the Heartlands and you know, even this darker purple, which I'm not a big fan of purple or blue. Green is my favorite color. I love brown, I love green, I love orange and yellows and stuff like that. Fall colors, but then also like a bunch of different shades of green. But I have a lot of greens, but they're like only a little bit used, and it's like a lot of skeins because it's like projects that I may go back to. But I knew that the squares would be a bit odd because it's a mix of greens, blues, pinks, you know, rainbow colors, but then also darker colors. So how do we feel about that? I'm fine with it because I know that there will be more rainbow throughout the entire thing. I also didn't talk about what I want to make out of it. Probably a sweater or a cardigan. Probably a sweater, just because I wouldn't have to do as much ribbing, and I hate doing ribbing. But I think I'm gonna do a join as you go method. But if I don't know if I want a 5th row of another color. It's hard to say, especially when like I don't know if all of these yarns is going to be enough to make a sweater big enough for me if they're smaller like this. So like if I did only 4 rows and I did join as you go and it was, you know, joined at this size, they might not be big enough. I'll have to do some math, which I hate, but to kind of like figure out how big I would need it to be. So how many squares do I need? I'll probably make this a multi-part video. If this video is a bit long, you'll know if there's more video left and I do more squares, or if this is the end. If this is the end, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and look forward to more crochet vlogs, sewing vlogs, crochet tutorials, and any other kind of crafting videos that I may put out in the future. Thank you so much.